Good morning, my dear students. How are you today? Let's take our story this year. Our story is Escape from the Fire. Escape here means run away. Now, our story is talking about the Great Fire of London. Our main characters here, Robert, Lucy, and their granddad. Robert and Lucy are cousins and also friends. Granddad was an inventor and invented different kinds of mobile phones. Lucy took one of the mobile phones and traveled back in time to London 1666. But she didn't know the password of return it back. So their granddad sent Robert to help her to come back. They faced a lot of problems and troubles in London. They also met friends from the past. Finally, they came back again to their granddad and to their lifestyle again after a very exciting adventure. Now, chapter 1, which is called Granddad.
Burning, London's burning, fetch the engines, fire, 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 pour on water, pour on water. Chapter 1. Grandad. Robert was excited. He was going to stay with his grandfather at the weekend. Lucy, his cousin, was going to stay too. She was the same age as Robert, and they were good friends. Suddenly, the telephone rang. Robert answered it. It was Lucy. "I hope we have a great weekend," said Lucy. "So do I," said Robert. "It's always good fun at Grandad's." There were two things about Grandad that Robert and Lucy really liked. First, he was very clever. He was an inventor. He invented lots of things, but mostly he invented new kinds of mobile phones. The other thing they liked was that Grandad loved history. His house was full of history books. When Robert and Lucy came to stay, Grandad told them exciting stories from history. The cousins loved the stories because they were true. Robert knocked on Grandad's door. Mrs. Green, the maid, opened it. "Hello, Robert," she said. "Come in." "Hello, Mrs. Green," Robert said. "How are you?" "I'm fine," said Mrs. Green. She took his bag from him. "Your grandfather is in his study." Robert hurried into Grandad's study. "Hello, Grandad," he began. Then he stopped in surprise. Grandad was sitting in an armchair. His foot was bandaged. "Grandad, what happened?" Robert asked. "I've hurt my ankle," Grandad said. "The doctor says I mustn't walk on it for a few days." "Poor Grandad! Does it hurt?" "I'll help you, and so will Lucy." "Where is she? Has she arrived yet?" Grandad looked worried. "I'm not sure," he said. "I think she has disappeared." "Disappeared?" said Robert. "What do you mean?" Grandad leaned towards him and whispered, "I think she has travelled back in time."
Now, open your booklets please and let's see our summary. Chapter 1, Granddad. Robert and Lucy were cousins. They were going to stay with their granddad. He was an inventor. He invented a new kind of mobile phones. He read history books to the children. They liked these stories because they were true. Granddad's leg was bandaged. Robert found Granddad worried when he asked him. He told him where Lucy was. He told Robert that Lucy disappeared. He thought that she traveled back in time. Now, our questions. Answer the following questions. Number 1, who did Robert and Lucy spend their weekend with? With their granddad. Again, with their granddad. When I ask you again, who did Robert and Lucy spend their weekend with? With their granddad. Question 2, what was granddad's latest invention? A new kind of mobile phones. Again, a new kind of mobile phones. Number 3, what happened to Granddad's leg? It was hurt. Hurt here equal bandage. It was hurt. What happened to Granddad's leg? It was hurt. Number 4, why did the children like stories? Because they were true. Again, because they were true. From the beginning, question number 1. Who did Robert and Lucy spend their weekend with? With their granddad. What was Granddad's latest invention? A new kind of mobile phones. What happened to Granddad's leg? It was hurt. Why did the children like stories? Because they were true. Let's see, complete the following sentences. Number 1, Lucy traveled back in time. Lucy traveled back in time. Number 2, Granddad was an inventor. Again, Granddad was an inventor. Number 3, Granddad invented a new kind of mobile phones. Again, Granddad invented a new kind of mobile phones. Okay, let's see another questions. Number 1, why did Lucy travel? Where did Lucy travel? She traveled back in time to London 1666. Again, she traveled back in time to London 1666. Number 2, what was Granddad's job? He was an inventor. Again, he was an inventor. Number 3, who invented the mobile phone? Granddad invented the mobile phone. Again, Granddad invented the mobile phone. Complete. Number 1, the children liked the stories from history because they were true. Again, they were true. Number 2, the children would stay with the space at the weekend. The children would stay with their granddad. Again, their granddad. From the beginning, please. Number 1, where did Lucy travel? She traveled back in time to London 1666. What was Granddad's job? He was an inventor. Who invented the mobile phone? Granddad invented the mobile phone. The children liked the stories from history because they were true. The children would stay with Granddad at the weekend. It's our easy chapter. You should study hard to be ready for our second chapter. Okay? Goodbye and good luck. Have a good day.